welcome to our weekly international prop chat on every Friday at 9:30 p.m. Malaysia time or GMT +8. I'm Mandy. Thank you for tuning in and support our program. For those who are new to our international prop chat, our Friday program will usually share on different countries' culture, lifestyles, investment criteria, migrations, working experience, as well as interesting story of the respective speakers.
I'm Angela Chen, Senior International Property Consultant from IQI Global, Asia's largest real estate and investment advisory firm, and a member of IQI. Our previous episode, we talked about pros and cons investing a house versus apartment in Australia, part 1, 2, and 3. For those who missed the early episode, do watch the replay from our current page at the IQI International Sales page and YouTube and Instagram. The next topic for episode 64 is Australia Townhouse really a bad investment? First of all, what is townhouse to you? Well, townhouse is a house in that the owner owns both the structures and the land on which it sits, but it is the freestanding, so the land on which it sits is limited to the front and backyard. Townhouses are connected to one another in row and are usually 2 or 3 stories tall.
Yep, well, the standard term of the townhouse in Malaysia, I would think that majority of you might be thinking that it's actually a ground floor property owned by one individual and the top floor property is owned by a separate individual. That is usually what Malaysia townhouse is for. But in Australia, it's actually different, all right? So usually we think that townhouse often include a split second floor whereby, for example, the upstairs owner have an area at the back of the building or the downstairs owner have the area in the front. So it may look like a very tall terrace developments, but they are, in fact, that's a difference. A townhouse design is such a way that each owner have direct access to their property without using a shared area. That often means that a main door to the front for the lower properties and the private door at the side of the property for the upstairs owner.
Yeah, just some definition of townhouses, but of course these days there are many characters and sophisticated designs of townhouses in Australia. In short, Australia townhouses is like our Ling house in Malaysia. In locations like US and Europe, townhouses are often referred as an upmarket semi-detached, and detached homes are part of the wider properties development. If you go to townhouses in a city like London, you are likely part of the ultra-rich elite who collect Ferraris just for fun. However, in some countries, townhouses are not popular or not in the list of their development, but definitely not in Australia, okay? Townhouses are certainly popular in certain states in Australia, as well as in some established suburbs. Land is these days, already very scarce. And then again, that you are talking about premium in this kind of locations. And most developers often acquire an old house whereby it sits on the bigger plots of land and subdivided into a smaller block of development like townhouses, which most certainly retain their value.
Yeah, absolutely. For investor, especially the new investor, need to understand certain key difference between townhouses and the standalone houses, or sometimes they will talk about house and land package, which we mentioned in our last episode, or villas, okay? In other words, people actually looking to purchase a rental property, often view townhouse a good starting point. I would say that like what Angela was just mentioned, because it's actually pretty scarce, okay? Mm-hmm. And it's actually very rare kind of developments, especially in the established suburbs. All right, so therefore it's really worth considering looking into townhouses as one of the investment. Well, before we begin, to more details, okay, let's welcome again for those that will just tune in to our International Prop Chat episode 64, which will help every Friday, 9:30 p.m. Malaysia time or GMT +8. I'm Mandy with Angela from IQI International Consultant Team of Malaysia. To give us plenty of supports and likes of our International Prop Chat channel, okay, and do share it with your friends if you think that is relevant and benefit to you as well as to your families and friends, okay. So today's the topic is about, is Australia townhouses really a bad investments? So let us go into why buying townhouses and factor to consider when it comes to such investments, shall we?
Of course. You may wonder who will look into townhouses development. In the research record, we have stated many people who buy townhouses or either first home buyers are those young professions, downsizers, retirees, property investments or property investors, or even young family who may not be able to afford a detached house in their desired areas, and yet they want to live and they do not want to live in an apartment. Okay. Again, the question is, where is all this demand coming from? In fact, townhouses has already been around in a long, long time, especially new generations, locations and trendy. These days, the demand trend tends to pick more recently on this kind of development. Let us just highlight the benefits point, especially for young families. Usually, they buy townhouses for various reasons. Shall we say that easy access to employment hubs, perhaps with the public transport and infrastructures, and ability to get into better schools, catchments, or at a lower entry price. What about easy access to lifestyles and entertainment cuisine, and also low maintenance living, and not to forget the reduce of travel time due to the traffic, you know.
In fact, this is actually very relevant points when come to look for those townhouse investments. So these are certain criteria that especially young family will look into. And of course, we are talking about when you want to buy into the townhouses, you're definitely looking into buying at like 3-bedroom or 2-bath or at least one garage or double garage kind of townhouses that might suit the needs of a small families, okay? But well, the other end, townhouse is often likable by the retiree. When the children are growing up, they used to occupy a big house, okay? And right now left the couples alone at home, and they, for the convenience sake, is like they still prefer to live in this particular suburb because they has been living here for more than 20 to 30 years. But because of the high maintenance and because of downsizing and everything, so therefore maybe currently what they're staying like 4 or 5-bedroom kind of home, surely too big for their needs. And of course, another reason is about maintenance. So you certainly find that this kind of demographic already exists in most of the blue chip suburbs. And tendency of their solutions is to downsize the home since they are living there, like I mentioned, more than 20 and 30 years, and they're so comfortable with the surrounding and with the suburbs already, and very familiar with the area, and they feel that it's so much easy to access everywhere. So therefore, it's like they prefer this kind of townhouse investments, or they rather stay in this kind of townhouses. And a lot of reasons that most of my clients will told me that they'll rather stay close to the families and friends. So this is again another reason that why people would choose to select this kind of townhouses. And in fact, the most common reason happening to most elderly people, not just in Australia, I would say everywhere, we would rather stay closer to our parents' house or to at least to our family. So, or your friends. Okay, so, and especially you talk about migrants that going to Australia, definitely they want to stay closer to all the friends and families. They know each other, so it's so much easier. So for them to adapt into new environment, suburb definitely is very challenging. So therefore, a lot of people would rather move into those good suburbs, and they can't probably afford those like big houses, but they are definitely going for this kind of choice.
Yeah. Nevertheless, such supplies are usually limited, especially land is scarce in prime suburbs. Due to some demographic and, of course, the government's authorities planning, some suburbs are not suited for apartments development. So townhouses is definitely the best choice, especially for locals. Furthermore, not many these kind of house or land package development available in the matured areas or suburbs, especially you're talking about real prime suburbs, okay, in the market. The competitions with local demands are usually rather high.
Yeah,
And
tell me about
remember,
it.
yeah, and remember, owners cannot buy the secondary markets or second properties from the, from the respective, especially more in Australia, okay? So to speak that the developers do not need to have or set their targets on just foreigner. They can also, like I say, is that the local demand is just as good. So such developments are usually often sold out pretty fast with limited units, and they are not often cheap, I would say. But if you compare to the established home, it would definitely more affordable. Unlike those massive apartments blocks with, whereby 200 and 200 units, what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep. When talk about all these townhouses development, usually it's kind of like boutique developments, whereby one small developments, I guess it's like, if especially you're talking about the blue chip suburbs, right? Probably only like 4 or 5, or the most is about 10, okay, not even 20. So therefore it's like, and because of the blue chips suburbs, a lot of local are buying in already. So I still remember I have one experience that there is one townhouses projects that I used to market it, and at that time, my buyer was telling me that, wait, let me think about it, okay? And they know the location is good, okay, but they say that they need some time to think about it. The moment they're about to consider buying it, too bad. I mean, the whole development is gone, okay? It's all fully sold. So therefore, it's like the turnover is actually pretty fast, I would say. And especially you talk about those like major capital city, and the budgets that you spend on buying a townhouses might not be very cheap. Average, you talk about medium house price in blue chip suburbs, I can say that it's actually from 2 million to 3 million around. Especially in Australia, okay? And you probably can get into this kind of townhouses around half of the cost, and you can still enjoy the benefit of living on the premium suburb, whereby closer to the school, good school catchments, and close to all the amenities. Just give you an example, okay? If you talk about Perth, right, townhouses, probably you talk about the distance from within 10 kilometer to about 15 kilometer to Perth CBD. The price ranging will be around high 500,000 marks and onwards, okay? Even though some of the popular suburbs that I don't think 500, I would say that it's above 500,000. So I would say mid six, okay, mid six kind of range. And of course, closer to the city, the more expensive it is. And in Melbourne, things are more difficult. I mean, you probably kind of hard to find all these townhouses, especially close to those good school catchment area, okay? Anything about townhouses like 20 kilometer away from Melbourne CBD, you would probably looking into at least minimum, okay, 750,000 Aussie dollars or above, okay? And some probably good area like Toorak, all this, right, townhouses easily cost you about 2 million and above. Even at South Melbourne, we have one project which is just sold, okay? And that was also going for 1.5 million. And you talk about Essendon on the north, I would say that right now, is about 800,000 to almost 1 million already. So therefore, you see the difference. Yeah, so it's not easy to get, and the price is getting more expensive.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people will just think about, I mean, what are the factors that they could consider when coming to buy into townhouses? Well, let us just summarize a few of the points, okay? I
Mhm.
would say the demand and supply, okay? And secondly, I will put locations and the accessibility. Of course, the design of the house, ideally two bathrooms, one must have a toilet or a powder room. Bear in mind, powder room is just a place where you do a little bit of makeup and, and it's completely dry. What I'm saying is not a bathroom type, okay? And they have a basin and they also have a so-called toilet, sporting toilet or sitting toilets, okay? More sitting toilets in Australia, okay? And yeah, that is called powder room in Australia. Preferably will be on the ground level for the convenient usage of the owners as well as the guests in order for them to walk up and down, and perhaps a double garage is always a better than a single one, direct access from the internal, and this is a plus point, okay?
Mhm.
And that lastly, I would not say that the adjoining walls. The better, and if there is a freestanding, it would be the best in terms of the factors of bank valuations. Okay, one or combinations of these will add some uniqueness of these properties and make it appealing for buyers and the renter respective.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. You talk about the design, right?
Mhm.
Probably we can just elaborate a little bit on the design. So usually in Australia, townhouses is like maybe the ground floor will be the garage, okay, and garage or maybe there will be a room, a small room, okay, or will be a kind of a living space, okay. Then when you go to the upstairs, usually will be the living hall and the kitchens and the second floor will be the bedroom. So therefore, it's like this is again like what you mentioned. They need to have a toilet and powder room on the ground level or at least on the first level if it's not 3-story. Because reason is like you probably might not want your guests run climb all the way up to the second floors just to access to your toilets or your bathroom, you see. So usually it's like while cooking or while watching TV in the living hall, and if you need to run to the bathroom, then at least you still have a toilet or powder room at first floor or at the ground floor level. So
But
this,
don't, but Mandy,
yeah,
don't worry. These days, the Australian houses are super good. You definitely fall in love the minute you see. Okay, not
yeah,
even
the
being
design
there.
is very
Okay, I'm
nicely,
talking
yeah.
about not being there. Just look at the video. You will really fall in love. They are really nice.
But of course, I do get some comments from some of the people, especially those Malaysians have been staying double story or I would say semi-D or bungalow because the amount of money they spend to buying townhouses is probably equivalent, especially to some of the prime suburbs, right? Probably equivalent of buying a semi-D house in Malaysia. Okay, so therefore they have different kind of expectations and they want those like as big as our semi-D. Okay, and when they come to those townhouses in Australia, they find that it's like a shoebox size and they are not used to it. They was just wondering how come I paid so much because they convert, okay, to ringgit. So they say why I pay so much and end up I'm getting a shoebox size of the townhouses. Just like what you mentioned before, we are talking about is similar to our link house. So therefore the concept is link house, okay. Then when you think about it, then you know that the wall has been shared, okay, and probably in terms of the layout might not be very spacious because you are talking about land scale, okay. And even though when you subdivide it into when you go to the prime suburb, you want to subdivide it into few townhouses, also depends on the block ratios because some of the suburbs, they have the restrictions when it comes to redevelop that block of land into a smaller block of land. They have some block ratios to follow up. So it's not that easy that you want big and nice and spacious. You get what I mean? No, we
Yeah.
that kind of budget. Yeah. So I guess this is like pretty important. You have to manage your expectations. And when it comes to buying townhouses, the other thing that you need to consider is the payment plan. Okay, it's so much easier compared to house and land, because house and land is two contract. We mentioned it during our last episode, but for townhouses is similar to apartment payment plan, is 1090. That means you pay 10% now, okay, pay nothing. Upon completions, you settle the 90%, whether you get loan or you buy cash. Okay, so straightforward. All right. And the stamp duty is actually based on the contract price, okay, i.e. the house plus land. So it's unlike the house and land package, whereby the stamp duty is only based on the land portions. House and land, because it's a single contract, so the treatment is similar to apartment. So you have to pay the full stamp duty based on the contract price. So in other words, if you want to compare the saving, of course, house and land stamp duty, you have a better saving compared to townhouses. And the other cost that you need to look into will be the strata fees, okay? Because townhouses, usually that you are building a big block of master title land, okay, subdivided. So therefore, it's not green title, okay? It's strata title. And when it comes to this, you probably need to cost in the border corporate fees. Why? Because they still have some public route to access into your units, and they probably might have I would say public area, okay? No doubt it will not be a very big garden or whatsoever, but you still need to pay some fees to maintain the public area as well. So especially the access road. And because they do not have many amenities provided like apartments, they do not have gym, they do not have swimming pool, they do not have like barbecue area and whatsoever, okay, the most they probably have gardens, or they have a small area for barbecue. Some of the developments they do have, okay, or they provide a small playground, okay, but usually I would say it's very minimum kind of amenities they provided. Hence the border corporate fees are also very minimum. In fact, if you want to compare to apartments, it's actually much cheaper. But of course, if you were to compare to house and land, because house and land do not have any border corporate fee. So in this case, the setback is that you probably want to incur a little bit on the border corporate fee, but it's not a lot. Don't worry about that. It's actually very minimal. Yep.
Yeah, if you can't decide between an apartment or a house, a townhouse has a bit of the both world, okay? And townhouses usually offers the space and privacy of the homes, and with the outdoor space and the rooms for the families to move around. I mean, garage, car parks at your doorsteps, okay? But you can't get this in the apartments, okay? But of course, you can get a car park at the doorstep. Is only for houses, right? So remember earlier we mentioned the number of stories of townhouses developments are usually low density. Unlike most apartments, townhouses don't have common space like share hallway or elevator or even lobbies, so to speak. This is more or a little bit of more privacy, okay? So among the, I would say almost all the state privacy of a house, okay? Of course, just some circumstances you have to minus off the share wall, okay? Or I would say that at the end of the townhouses, there are only one common share walls, okay? And usually more populous among the buyers when the times comes to sell. Remember, even the house in Malaysia, the so-called link house, they will always have an end unit and a little corner unit. That is what we are actually defining in such a way. So usually the end on or the first or the last one, they usually have one common, just one wall by itself. So they own it for themselves. Okay.
Yep. So in fact, personally, I actually quite fond of townhouses, and
me too. Okay.
I find that they are actually very unique, and in fact, nowadays, you can see that a lot of townhouses, they are very well designed, modern design, okay? And those days when I started to market Australia properties, I still remember all the townhouses look the same, okay? But nowadays, it's like, I probably salute those architects because the way they design the townhouses is like, they might look a little bit different, okay? In terms of the structural, okay, one after another. So I have seen quite a few, okay, lately, and I was quite amazed with the way they structure it. It's really nice. It's like, it doesn't really look like those typical townhouses, tall and shoebox size, that kind, okay? The way they design the facade is like, it's really, really very nice. So therefore, I started to fall in love, okay? And if I have a chance, I probably would want to invest in one of the townhouses as well. And besides that, you talk about the features is similar to a home, okay, a house and land. It's just that probably it's smaller size in terms of build out. And of course, if you compare to apartments, and the build out is actually bigger than apartments. And I would say, obviously, if you really want to compare the built-in, right, in terms of the square feet and all these things, if you want spacious, you want big, okay, you want more rooms, definitely you would not go for townhouses, because usually I see most of the townhouses, the most is about 3-bedroom, okay? They hardly find any like 4-bed or 5-bed kind of townhouses, okay? And standard one nowadays, usually they provide 2 bedrooms only, rather than 3-bedrooms. So depends on which area and which city and suburbs in Australia as well. So and like Angela was mentioned that they come with duplex design, okay? And of course, some with 3-story. I know a lot of people might not like 3-story, especially elderly people. They would not love to climb the stair, especially if your master bedroom is actually at the top floor. So therefore, it's like they would rather go for double story, okay, instead of 3-story. So it depends on the requirements they want. But majority of the townhouses looks like a double story detached house to me. So in fact, it's easier maintained compared to a house, because you probably do not have much of the gardens, okay? I would say perhaps no gardens at all, okay? If you really fond to do gardening, okay, or you like to plant a lot of flowers or trees or whatsoever, definitely you can't go for townhouses. No way, okay? They wouldn't have any big plot of land for you to do all these things. So again, but for me, it's like I don't like doing gardening, so it's fine. And in terms of the privacy, I would say that it still look like a house to me, okay? And unlike apartments, you have few floor or stories by different owner, but this one is fully occupied by you. So therefore, more privacy. And in terms of the neighborhood, I would say that it's rather more friendly kind of community, because you probably tend to know each other of your neighbor, and when it comes to parties or gatherings, okay, you probably you get invited by them and all the things. So it's really feel like a smaller community compared to house and land. So if you love this type, okay, definitely this is a good choice. And best, I would say that usually townhouses are located at the prime location with good accessibility, okay? Even though you talk about you want to drink a cup of coffee, maybe perhaps it's just a walking distance, okay? Walk score, I would say that townhouses usually is much better compared house and land, because they are rather near to all the amenities.
Yeah. But again, some of the townhouses, they do allow you to do a little bit of gardening around your area there. I've seen those are definitely not the one that is closest to CBD. The one that is further away, some of the suburbs. We see some areas. I won't say that it will give you a lot of space, like what Mandy says, the house and then those type of. But they still give you a little, of course. Some pots you can still plant, okay, by planting pots, okay, instead of planting on the ground, So yeah. So again, that as general rules, houses tend to generate better long-term capital growth, while apartments tend to generate better rental, returns. However, much of these is dependent on the states of the properties markets and economy. The resale value of the townhouses will obviously depends on many factors like locations. Again, we mentioned time to time we repeat by saying that nearby amenities, the demand of the rental accommodation in the areas, or the demographic of the or whether it is kind of the development itself, the small ones like I say, the boutique townhouses. Again, boutique townhouses developed usually have very few units only, maybe say around 10 or perhaps 8 to 10 units, and they are very, very unique designs. Okay, so when you see it, you will fall in love. And usually, this kind of townhouses, when it comes to Malaysia, it's probably one or two left only, because the rest is all being sold by the local there. Right. So to me, the best of two worlds, the privacy of a landed property and the facilities of some facilities about the apartment complex. Okay.
Yeah, and the other thing I probably wants to highlight, since you mentioned about the locations, because sometimes when you buy when you select a townhouses projects, right? Usually, like we mentioned just now, location is actually very important. So assuming that that particular area whereby they still have plenty block of land to build house and land, and suddenly they have one townhouses projects there. To be honest, I probably would not recommend you to go for townhouses. I would rather you buy those house and land, because as like we mentioned, the features of townhouses is usually they are in prime suburbs, okay, whereby the land is scarce, so therefore you can't get those big block of land of the house and land package. So therefore you compromise for townhouses. So in contrast, if you were to go to the area whereby they still have plenty block of land to build house and land package, then you probably not advised to buy townhouses. You should go for house and land package. So this is one of my experience, because at the end of days, you still, whether is it investment or own stay, okay, you still want to think about the exit, okay, and the resale value. So definitely people will probably go for those house and land package whereby they still have plenty block of lands or developments going on, rather than go for townhouses. So this is just another tips for you in the events that you are considering townhouses projects. So make sure that you do a little bit of the study and a survey to make sure that that area is actually really prime area whereby you can't really find a lot of this type of house and land developments already. All right, so let's see if we have any questions before we go to the next one. All right. Okay, so a lot of people was asking is like house and land, is it considered freehold, Angela?
House and land, yes. You can buy house and land in Australia for freehold.
So what about townhouses? Is it still considered freehold?
Yes, some of the I would say Australians getting a freehold properties is no problem. Okay, even you're talking about apartments, all right?
Yep. So I hope I answered the questions. All right, so when come to talk about design, just now I did mention about the design already. So sometimes some projects, they might look the same, okay? Some current, the latest one, you probably see a little bit difference in terms of the facade, okay? But unlike house and land package, you can design your own facade. This is like standard package, okay? Developer have already done everything, okay? And full turnkey with all the designs, even interior also not much that you can actually modify or differ, okay? So it's similar to all other townhouses developments across Australia. So if you really want to renovate, like I say, you want to add on one more bathroom, or you want to convert another room you want to convert another study room to a room, that kind of thing. So usually you need to seek approval of the body corporate first. And especially you talk about those major renovations that require. It depends on their approval. Sometimes you might get ages to get it approved because in terms of structural, everything is actually rather prefixed already. You can't do much of the changes, and usually it's not advisable. But if you want to try, you can try, but it will take time to get approval. This is one of my experience because I used to sell one of the townhouses to a client, and in fact, they want to modify a lot of things. So in the beginning, developer not agreeable with that, okay? And then subsequently, when they settled the house already and they wanted to do massive renovations again, it's not that easy, okay? It's subject to approval and it takes time, all right? So therefore, in this case, there's a little bit setback, as in they can't be as flexible as house and land package, whereby you can choose to add extra bathroom, or you can actually make extra room, you get what I mean, or hack the wall whatsoever, but not for townhouses.
Yeah, that same goes to the apartment as well. It's just that townhouses, I like it is because it has many levels. Sometimes some design in such a way that the kitchen actually has the whole floor by itself. You know what I'm saying? It's so beautifully. And then when it comes to rooms, it's another floor, you see. So the noise of it will not be that kind of much. Not like in an apartment, if you plan in the apartment for 3 bedrooms or for that matter 2 bedrooms. Okay, the kitchen, the dining, whatsoever is there, is still the same floor, same platform, same level, unless you're talking about some duplex type, you know. That's why sometimes when it comes to duplex, it's always it's very impressive. A lot of buyers, you know, when it comes to that. But again, not many of these kind of developments. Okay. Yeah. Coming back to those, like I say, that most of the times agent encounter by giving many investors that impressions that they can invest in anything, okay, and without telling them much of the points and the pros and the cons. That's why we have these topics today, and previously the few topics that we are talking about is actually mainly to highlight, you know. So therefore, it helps for investors to have a better understanding. So if there is any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us or come to our so-called IQI International Sales page and just give us any of the questions that is on your mind that you would like to, and if we cannot able to answer you right away, just put it in the comments box. We will answer you as soon as we come back. All right.
Yeah. In fact, there's a question that is there any difference between the sales for townhouses or house and land when come to exit?
It is again depending on the locations. Like I say, whatever it is, whatever you buy, there is always an entry point. It's always back to. That's why you can see that we have been time to time. Why do we keep highlighting the locations, the amenities, the infrastructures, the demographic? Why do we do that? It's not that because we don't know that we have been mentioning numerous times. It's just that we are trying to express that is a very, very important factor. So, yeah. I hope that we did answer you, because we cannot simply say that one that is better and the other one is not better. What if you happen to buy a house and land that is maybe 50 to 60 kilometers away, and that big plot of land is still a townhouse? I mean, that is still a house and land. Does that mean that kind of house and land will be better than certain apartments that is located pretty close to the CBD, or even some of the townhouses that is at the prime suburb? Can you do a comparison like that? Obviously can't, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. That is something that I would also like to mention, that you might already lost the great deals of some of the promotions incentive offers by time to time when it comes to searching for properties. a lot of time people will always say that, yeah, I would like to buy properties, but I am still looking at it. I'm still looking at it. So that is actually the searching end, you know. So having an agent that who know about the property is definitely a not just it's just a really a good helping hand to you. Okay, most of all, you have to understand what you want it first. Not having a 10 property in hand that I say, I want a 10 properties in A, B, C, and to E or F and J, okay? But most important is you have to search and knowing what are the criteria that you want. At least in hand, you give yourself maybe the most three properties that you are looking. Whether locations, if you can't tell me the location, give us the criteria. What are you looking for? Whether are you going for to invest for children? Are you thinking about what kind of primary, secondary school, or even some the international school? That is also one of the factors that is very, very important. So when you consider buying a property, one of it is still back to the two key points: the rental income, whether the properties that you purchase as investment, whether the rental income is good if you think of renting out, or the capital growth, whether it's there if you look into 7 years or 5 years or even a lot something that is long term. Okay, buying property is always long term. Okay, whether is that a capital growth at the end? Okay, so therefore, before you buy a properties like townhouses, you need to understand how houses really would it fit your lifestyle. Perhaps you could ask yourself a few questions when it comes to buy into townhouses. Okay, let me just try to. Of course, all this we have mentioned it much earlier. So let me just put it in point so that when you come about it, you could just remember. Oh yeah, Angela did mention about. Is there any restriction? Okay. Is there how about the strata fees? Was strata fees a main concern for you? But again, some of the strata fees also covers insurance. Make sure you ask that, okay? And what about the parking space? You know, some of the parking space, some of the townhouses may come with two parking, but some of it they only have one, or some of it none. Okay, when it comes to CBD, can you get a parking space? Ask for it. Probably no. Okay. So again, you want a cup of coffee which is just within the distance. Sorry, no car park. Okay. And another thing that is the share titles or individual titles is important to you. So if that is very important to you, forget it. Okay. Go for housing. So these are the things that you can highlight and at least you put in a point. So when it comes to confronting an agent, agents can help you to get something very fast. The faster it is, the faster you look for this kind of property. Usually, this kind of property are very, very high demand. Okay, and you make it faster for you to grab hold of this kind of properties. So you see, sometimes it's not the agents that is pushing. It's sometimes the agent is trying so hard to get something that you love it. But again, the information is not solid enough for such decision. So therefore, when it comes to you, ding ding dong dong ding ding dong dong, at the end of the day, like Mandy just said, oops, so fully so up. Right, Mandy?
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's all about dollars and cents. So if you want to buy those townhouses in especially blue chips suburbs, right? So you have to be a bit more realistic and practical. Okay, you can't be expecting anything very cheap, okay, especially in this kind of area. So this one you have to compromise. A lot of things like sometimes you want good location and yet you can't afford that kind of price. Okay, so therefore you have to go a bit far. So distance and price is actually two factor in. Okay, this is two related one. So if you want, let's say for example, you give me a affordable budgets, okay, your affordable budget. So I can just propose according to your criteria. Yeah. So I can't recommend to those suburbs that I know everyone wants to go for the good school zone and wants to close to the uni, okay? But again, it's like all these areas are prime areas, so you hardly could ever find those house and land package or even townhouses. So what you can do is just compromise for apartments, all right?
Yeah.
And if you're talking about if you want to buy for kids to study in, especially in Australia, okay, whether should you buy house and land or should you buy apartment or should you buy townhouses? So again, it's your choice, okay? Usually apartment is much closer to the uni, to the school, okay? And townhouses are in between of the house and land. And I would say that if you don't like apartments, okay, then you can actually compromise for townhouses instead of house and land for your kids, that especially those who's studying, okay?
Yeah. If you hate gardening, let's forget about.
And because it's like less maintenance, but at least you have more rooms, and when you come over to visit your daughters, your kids,
Yeah.
okay, you still have a room for you. You can actually stay as long as you want in a way,
Yeah.
okay? But or you can just rent out a room to the schoolmate or whatsoever, or to others, and earn extra income. So usually this is how we advise the customers. So in fact, to be honest, townhouses is actually worth considering, and it's not a bad investment. I would say in long run, okay, given a bit of time, okay, townhouses, especially in prime suburb, definitely they will increase in value, and you probably can't find anything anymore unless the developer will go and acquire old houses again and tear down the whole units and rebuild. But again, you must remember the cost will factor in, and therefore the price will be more expensive. So it's always good that you buy earlier and consider if there's any good projects that if your agents or your friends that like recommend to you, basically you should grab it, rather than later you regret it and you will tell the agents or you will blame yourself that why shouldn't I get that?
Yeah.
So that is usually the case. Well, I think we have actually covered quite a lot in these 3 episodes, in fact 4, including today's, okay, to talk about what type of property that is suitable, the pros and cons of investing, whether it's a house or apartments or townhouses. Like I said, it all depends on your objective, okay, and you can't have everything. Okay, you just need to compromise at least what is your priority. Okay, give yourself a few priority and select those that you think that is best match your criteria. You can't match everything. Okay, I don't think so. Or you have the perfect house for you. So I guess it's like nothing is perfect. So in this case, you really need to compromise, all right, in terms of dollar and cents, in terms of the locations, in terms of the size. Okay, so all these factors that you should consider before buying into Australia. And once again, if you think that our episode for this kind of topic is benefit to you, do give us some comment and feedbacks, okay? Perhaps we can do more about this kind of discussions or sharing for different countries, not just Australia. We can do it for other countries like Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand, UK, okay? So if you like this kind of sharing, so please leave a comment to us, okay? And particularly if you want to hear any other countries related to this kind of discussions and sharing, do let us know, okay? We will prepare it and share it in our next episode. So give us plenty of love and supports, and also share our program to your friends and families.
Yeah. For those who missed the early episodes, do check out our FB, IQI International Sales page, or YouTube, or watch the replay, okay? And I'm looking forward to see the next Friday, 9:30 Malaysian time, and this time we talk about UK. And the topic will be, why ratings is the best cities. And they will be conducted in Cantonese. And for those who likes to listen to Cantonese, please invite some of your family friends to come and join. Okay, it is a good place for you to listen. Why is this place is so good? Okay, should you have any further advice or inquiries, please feel free to contact us, either of us, or visit our IQI Global website www.iqiglobal.com for more information. I'm Angela. Stay safe and all the best.
And I'm Mandy Chen. Take care and have a nice weekend. Bye bye, everyone.